Yeah, well, we know how they want to play because this is how they built their offense in the offseason, signing Jack Conklin, drafting Jedrick Wills, trading for fullback Andy Janovich, investing in multiple tight ends, bringing back David Njoku when he wanted it out. And by the way, David Njoku is expected back this week to kind of bolster the passing offense. He's, the best playmaking tight end that they have. Dearness Johnson, he played in the AAF, and I remember being skeptical of him in the AAF because he ran a 4.86 40. But he was pretty good in the AAF, and he was very good against Dallas in Week 4. And it looks like Nick Chubb could miss like up to 6 weeks. So, Kareem Hunt has dealt with a groin injury so far. They want to involve 2, if not 3 backs. And so Dearness Johnson, although I don't think he's going to get very much passing game production, he's certainly going to be worth a pickup. I mean, he's going to get opportunity. Kareem Hunt, though, even with that groin injury, his all-purpose role should be excellent going forward. Baker Mayfield continues to be a guy that just really, this was the best opportunity for him to have a big game, and he did not have a big game against Dallas. They want to keep him under to 30 or fewer pass attempts on a weekly basis. If you think that Odell Beckham looks faster this year, you are correct. And that can be backed by evidence because Next Gen Stats has charted him at nearly 16 miles per hour on average max speed, which is significantly faster than he was running the past 2 seasons. You remember last year he dealt with the groin injury all season long, had the sports hernia surgery after the season. But he looks like he's right back to 100%. That's really, really good news for him. Jarvis Landry in an offense that is so run committed. Now, he's not getting big play chances. He's just a possession slot, role player. He actually played mostly outside last week, but he's just a role player, like a low upside wide receiver 4 at this point.
And I want to start with Kenyan Drake because, people are like ready to cut this guy. And what's shocking to me is that Kenyan Drake just has 5 targets on 144 Kyler Murray pass attempts. I couldn't have dreamed that up in a million different scenarios before the season. He did have an injury late. Cliff Kingsbury said that he's going to be fine, so I don't think it's a big factor. But man, I know you said it before, Evan. Chase Edmonds is probably the better back here, but they're not letting him play. They're just like using Kenyan Drake, not using him in the pass game. Kyler scores the goal line touchdowns. What should people be doing with Kenyan Drake right now?
I know it's been really, really frustrating, and the offense as a whole has been frustrating, not just the running game, which was the strength of the offense last season, but also the passing game. Kyler Murray's efficiency is way, way down, even from last year, from his rookie season. And, their offense is just throw a bunch of hitch routes to DeAndre Hopkins or let Kyler Murray run around, and that's it. They're getting nothing from Larry Fitzgerald. Andy Isabella is barely playing. Christian Kirk has been injured. He did score a touchdown last week, but hasn't made any big plays, and that's the role that they enlisted him for this season. The thing is that their upcoming schedule remains extremely favorable. They've got the Jets this week. They've got the Cowboys after that. They've got the Seahawks after that. They've got the Dolphins after that. The Bills could be a tough one, although their defense has underachieved this year. Then they've got the Seahawks again. So I think that Kenyan Drake is a buy low, and I know that people don't want to hear that, but I think that that his owners are so frustrated right now that you can get him for really, really cheap. He might even get dropped in some shallower 10 and 12 team season long leagues, but I think that he is likelier than not to pick it up, and and there have been no indications that they're going to start throwing the feature back job Chase Edmonds' way. So I would be willing to pick him up off on the cheap because I don't think that he's going to maintain this rate of 5 targets on almost 300 dropbacks by Kyler Murray. I think that they're going to have to get him more involved in the passing game because they are not getting production from anyone in the passing game other than DeAndre Hopkins.
The Giants. I tweeted about this. You tweeted about this. Evan Ingram is playing 90% of the snaps. He's slaughter wide in about half of them. He leads the team in target share at 20%. His ADOT has been pathetic. But as we talked about before the season, their schedule is so brutal for the first month. Now they get Dallas, Washington, Philly, Tampa, Washington, Philly, Cincy, Seattle, Arizona. I mean, it's just like a dream setup for the Giants. And so maybe I've been too optimistic on Daniel Jones, but he is going to have spike weeks in these matchups, maybe as soon as this week against Dallas. And Evan Ingram should be dragged along with Danny Dimes. So I'm optimistic on him. I know from your tweet that you're optimistic on him. Anything on Evan Ingram and the rest of the Giants?
Yeah, Evan Ingram's usage has been excellent with, the exception of his ADOT. He had a really low ADOT last year too, though. And when he was out there, he was producing at a clear-cut tight end one clip. So I think that he's a buy low right now if you're looking for tight end help because of those matchups that you mentioned. I mean, this game against Dallas, this is going to be the Giants' best opportunity by far of the season. And we knew that they were going to start slow offensively. This is going to be the best opportunity by far for Daniel Jones to have a pop-up game, and for Evan Ingram. The Cowboys have just been getting slaughtered by tight ends.
All right, speaking of guys coming back to the forefront after injury, Damian Harris played the strict Sony Michel role. And one thing that I was optimistic about in camp and why I thought Damian Harris was such a strong pick in like the 11th round of season long was because in training camp, and shout out to Jeff Howe, who was charting targets, Damian Harris was getting a ton of targets in training camp. However, when the lights came on, he played the strict Sony Michel role, but he looked great in the Sony Michel role. Like he was bursting through the line. And I hate to go on Team Watch the tape, but you could tell he was just moving at a different speed than a lot of the other guys. He goes over 100 yards. The problem, as with Sony Michel, is when you don't play in the pass game, when you play for the Patriots, it's like, you better score a touchdown. You better go over 100 yards, or it's just not helping fantasy teams. So what do you think out of Damian Harris and the Patriots game against the Chiefs last night?
Same as you. I thought that he got what was blocked in a little bit more. And they were opening up some holes against Kansas City. Kansas City's been bad against the run, and they were without Chris Jones. But the Patriots have a good offensive line. And I think that Damian Harris will have some solid rushing efforts, just he's not going to get targets in the same backfield with James White and Rex Burkhead. So, he can run for 100 yards, but he gets no catches, and, he gives you 10 fantasy points. He's got to score a touchdown. He's going to be he's going to be very much like what Sony Michel was, and that was pretty much a touchdown. You need like multiple touchdowns for him to have a truly big game.
I think they'll go to Stidham if Cam can't play still this week. Although I don't know. I haven't been following the whole Cam saga. Maybe there was a false test or something. I don't know. But either way, I thought that N'Keal Harry's outlook, and I don't like N'Keal Harry, but I do think N'Keal Harry is better when Cam doesn't play, because at least N'Keal Harry has a shot at goal line touchdowns, and we saw that last night with N'Keal Harry getting a touchdown from what was like the 1 or 2 yard line. If Cam was in there, he would just run it in. So I prefer N'Keal Harry when Cam doesn't play, if that makes any sense.
I think the deal with Cam is that he needs to test negative twice. He's asymptomatic, which is good. Yeah. But he needs to test negative twice before the week 5 game in order to get cleared. He does have a chance to do that. And hopefully he does, because the Patriots offense is tough to watch when it's Stidham and Hoyer.
Minnesota. Good news on Minnesota, I think, is what we've seen from Justin Jefferson. Last 2 weeks, Justin Jefferson has ran 51 routes on 56 Kirk Cousins dropbacks for a 28% target share. Turn that into 278-1. I mean, Justin Jefferson looks like an elite NFL baller in his second NFL game already. I don't know if this is sustainable in an offense that's going to be team established run. By the way, shout out to Mike Zimmer, team established run. I don't know if you guys saw the picture of his alleged girlfriend in the New York Post, but shout out to him. You established the run. This is what happens to you. But anyways, what do you think about Justin Jefferson's long-term value going forward? Obviously, the spots that he's had the last couple of weeks have been very good.
I would be willing to say that he's almost transformed this offense over the past 2 weeks. You remember the Vikings started off really, really slow offensively last year too, and then they kind of got things together a little bit. And I think that they are trending in the right direction. Dalvin Cook is still Dalvin Cook. He's absolutely balling out right now. And their schedule upcoming is pretty favorable. They get the Seahawks this week in, I think, the highest total game on the entire slate on Sunday night. Then they get the Falcons. They get the Packers, which it could go either way. And then they get the Lions. The Bears will be a tough one, but then they get the Cowboys after that. So I think that the trajectory is upward right now for the Vikings, for Kirk Cousins. Justin Jefferson has caught 16 passes so far this year. 8 of them have gone for 20 or more yards. 10 of them have gone for 17 or more yards. And he's helping Adam Thielen as well as a big play threat who's playing on the outside. I think that he is here to stay as, at worst, an every week wide receiver 3 and maybe a wide receiver 2 every week going forward.
The Washington football team, and the best thing that we can say is Terry McLaurin went into a tough matchup, caught 10 balls, and we can also say that Antonio Gibson is really separating. I mean, 72% of the running back carries. J.D. McKissic saw a lot of targets, but still, Antonio Gibson saw 35% of the running back targets. So there's some optimism there. Did you see anything out of Washington that gives you hope?
Yeah, Antonio Gibson definitely gives me hope. I mean, he is a really, really explosive player, and he is, learning the offense more and more as each week progresses, and his trajectory continues to be upward. McLaurin did not practice last Friday, and he was a tough guy to stomach starting against Baltimore, but that was really promising that he was able to do what he did with 10 catches in 118 against the Ravens. The Ravens kind of jumped out to an early lead, and Dwayne Haskins kind of dinked and dunked the rest of the way. But, I mean, that was his career high for passing yards, 314, hopefully something that he can build on going forward. He started slow last year as well and kind of, got together down the stretch. Hopefully he can continue to progress and build on that effort.